15 at 2:05 in council chambers. So first up is the adoption of minutes from the Committee of the Whole, minutes of March the 16th, and the regular open minutes on March the 16th, and they will be adopted by consensus. Business arising from prior minutes. I have two motions that I would like to read. Motion IC 4015. These are released from the in-camera meetings this morning. Moved by Councillor Campbell and seconded by Councillor King, and resolved that motion IC 34/15 as follows be made public. Moved by Councillor Young. This seems to be redundant, sorry. Moved by Councillor Youngberg, seconded by Acting Mayor King, and resolved that Council approves the appointment of Martin Connolly to the Economic Development Committee. And that is carried. And Mr. Connolly is in the audience today. Welcome. And the second motion of IC 42/15, moved by Councillor Youngberg and seconded by Councillor King, and resolved that Council approve Outland Design Landscape Architecture to issue a change order of $81,947.60 for Crown Contracting Limited to purchase materials needed to construct Stage B of the Gyro Park Plaza, along with their already completed surveying work in this area, all in accordance with the quote of March the 24th, 2015. And that is also carried. So, introduction of late items. There are none. There are no delegations. So the first thing we have is water matters and council resolutions for grant applications. Mr. Zackel is here today because Mr. Romanko is on holiday.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before council, it's council resolution for grant applications. This is the CAO's report. The town of Vesuvius will be submitting applications under the new Federal Gas Tax Fund Strategic Priorities Fund program. Under this program, municipalities are eligible to make application for 2 capital projects. Projects are eligible for 100% funding of approved capital projects with an application deadline of April 15th, 2015. The grant applications will be completed and submitted by True Consulting after consultation with town staff. The projects that were approved by council included the sewer lift station and phase 1 of the System 8 domestic water twinning. The sewer lift station project was also submitted to the Building Canada Fund Small Communities Fund. These funding applications require council resolutions supporting the application. Implications for the community. Community benefits from having infrastructure that is fully operational and meets the needs of the community. Organizational. Time to work with True to complete the application and, if successful, to carry out the project. Budget. Receiving project grants enables projects to be completed with less financial impact on the community. Matching funds are to come from sewer and water reserve accounts. Significant dates. April 15th is the grant application deadline. Sustainability, not applicable. For the options before council, option 1. Council directs administration to make the application to the Federal Gas Tax Fund Strategic Priorities Fund prior to the program application deadline of April 15th, 2015 to enable the sewer main lift upgrading project, and furthermore the grant amount request to be $2,293,303 and that $1,146,667 be allocated from sewer operating and reserve funds for a total project cost of $3,440,000. Option 2. Council directs the administration to make application to the Federal Gas Tax Fund Strategic Irrigation or Priorities Fund prior to the program application deadline of April 15th, 2015 to enable the Irrigation District System 8 domestic twinning project, and furthermore that the grant amount requested be $2,606,100 and that $1,116,900 be allocated from water operating and reserve funds for a total project cost of $3,723,000. Option 3. Council directs administration to complete grant applications to these funds for amounts provided by council. Option 4. Council directs administration not to apply for grants for these projects and identifies other projects. Option 5, council directs the administration not to apply for grants under these programs. So the recommendation before council is administration recommends option 1 and option 2. Successful applications for these projects will assist the community to carry out these projects with less financial impacts on the community. And that was signed by Barry Romanko, our CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Zackel. It sounds like a lot of money to anybody looking at this. Believe me, these projects were talked about at great length at our budget meetings earlier in the year, and we definitely agreed that they were important projects to go forward, and in order to do that we need to apply for grants. The sewer main lift station and the twinning are two of them. I'm just wondering if anybody from council, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So I'd like to make a motion based on the exact wording in options 1 and 2.
Thank you. And Councillor Campbell, are you seconding the motion?
I am.
Yes.
Jeanette was just informing me that we should probably do 2 separate motions so that they can go each with each application.
Absolutely. So the second one is the water. All right. So Councillor Rhodes, would you like to, you and Councillor Campbell, move option 1 first of all?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. And would you like to speak to that, option 1? Would anybody? Okay. Then all in favor of option 1? Thank you. That is carried. Now, option 2, Councillor Moreira, would you like to say something about this one?
No, I just, I'll move it.
Move option 2. All right. And Councillor Raj. Then is there anyone would like to speak to that? No. Then all in favor of the federal gas tax funding for the twinning project, the application for grants for that one. All in favor? Thank you. Both of those are carried.
Great.
Thank you very much. Next is the water zoning bylaw amendment for Paradise Park, and that is Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you. The Paradise Park Lessees Association, represented by Randy North, is seeking to build a new dock facility in Solana Bay, fronting their RV park at 5901 Main Street. See location on the attached photo image. A rezoning is required under the Town of Osiris Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw number 1294-2012 for Paradise Park to replace their existing private dock with a new larger strata dock for mooring 10 boats and to retain 15 of their current private bodies. Council is accordingly being asked to give first and second readings to attach Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw Amendment number 1294-01-15 and to set a public hearing date. The location and size of the proposed moorage facility is shown in the attached diagrams. The dock would measure 30 meters in length by 2.4 meters in width, and the access ramp connecting it to the beach is proposed to be 1.2 meters in width by 11.17 meters in length. The dock would have 2 end fingers of 7.3 meters by 1.2 meters and the 4 lesser side fingers of 6 meters by 0.76 meters. The overall dock surface is proposed to be 95.58 square meters. The proposed strata moorage facility would extend into Solana Bay, located on the south side of Highway 3, approximately 500 meters from the town's eastern boundary. The proposed facility will serve the Paradise Park RV resort property, which is zoned as recreational vehicle residential strata resort R8 and contains 69 leased lots. Lakeshore properties adjacent to the subject property are characterized as single-family residential, with most of them having private docks. Solana Key is within Crown tenure, and provincial approval is required for changing the dock facility. In support of their application to the Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resources, MFLNORO. I don't know why they have to make it so long. The applicant submitted an Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA, report from Lake Stream Environmental Services dated June 2013. The ministry eventually granted preliminary approval, but subject to town rezoning approval under our foreshore and lake zoning bylaw. This bylaw was approved by council in 2012 to promote lake environmental sustainability, protect water use safety, avoid overloading our finite resource base, ensure access by various user groups, and promote other public purposes. The bylaw covers that portion of Osoyoos Lake within our municipal boundaries, which generally extend 100 meters out from the high water mark. The bylaw contains 4 zones, each with their own permitted uses and development regulations, i.e. W1, public water use, W2, private moorage, W3, group strata moorage, and W4, commercial moorage. Paradise Park's existing W2 zoning permits a maximum density of 3 berths per waterfront property, with a maximum size of 24 square meters, and does not permit group or strata moorage. The W3 zoning would permit group strata moorage facilities up to 30 meters length, but does not provide for private buoys. The proposed moorage facility meets the requirements of the W3 zoning regulations in terms of length, width, and setbacks, but the rezoning has to be made site-specific to allow up to a maximum of 15 private buoys, in addition to the dock for this particular location. The proposed moorage will improve water usage, safety, and provide a more orderly approach for securing boats. Increasing the dock size as proposed is not seen to negatively impact adjacent owners of other water users, as the total number of boats that can be accommodated will not increase. The director reviewed the EIA report and concluded that because there will not be any significant riparian impacts, the rezoning application would not have to be accompanied with a riparian development application. The author of the report, Lake Stream Environmental Services, will be on site to supervise all works to ensure that they meet the proper provincial protocols. Lastly, it is noted that our foreshore habitat inventory completed by Ecoscape Environmental Consultants in 2012, assisted by our mayor, identifies the north side of Solana Key as having relatively low fish habitat values. Implications: A. Community benefits our resort industry by enabling the Paradise Park RV Resort to improve their moorage facilities. Organizational: this report was prepared with the assistance of an RDUS planner under our contractual arrangements for development applications. Budget not applicable. Significant dates: a public hearing date has to be set. Sustainability: this project will not have any adverse environmental impacts and may indeed create a net gain by reducing the existing number of buoys. Options: council gives first and second readings to the bylaw amendment, or council requires more information before proceeding. Recommendations: staff recommends option number 1, and bylaw number 1294, period 1/215, Town of Osoyoos Foreshore and Lake Zoning Amendment bylaw be read the first and second time and proceed to a public hearing, and that council set the timing of a public hearing, and that staff give notice of the public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. And I will not read the actual bylaw amendment itself. It's perfectly clear from the
Thank you
preamble.
very much. It looks to me, and I'd like to make sure that this is correct, Mr. Cunningham, that by having the first and second readings, it allows it to be brought into the public space, and that people, perhaps some of the people at Paradise Park, have a concern, and this will allow them to come to a public meeting and get the information which is out in the public eye and answer some of their questions. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Some people in Paradise Park wish more information on this proposal, including one lady who's new to the park. I understand that there'll be a meeting of the RV Park Association on the 25th. Our public hearing cannot and should not occur before that date because they may have some issues that they need to resolve. I would urge that we hold our public hearing in the first week of next month at 11:30. I would suggest. Sorry, 1:30.
Okay, thank you. I believe that it's an AGM that's on the 25th at the Paradise Park, and
That's
so
right.
I'm assuming that anybody who's interested, any of the 69 owners would be able to attend and ask questions. So are you suggesting that we wait to set the timing of a public hearing until they have completed their AGM, or can we set it now, and do I leave that up to you? And
I think we should set it now, and then if things happen at the AGM which would effectively change their proposal in any way, then I would take that back to council. We'd rescind first and second readings and proceed with whatever might be a new proposal. But I'm not sure that that's going to happen.
okay, so what I would like to know from, yes, Councillor
I'll
King.
make a resolution that we accept option 1.
Is there, and second it. Would either one of you like to speak to that? Would anyone else like to speak to it? Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Maybe I'm assuming that there is not continuity within the park itself, that we have a representative of the park, but they don't have total consensus there?
That's just based on the conversation of one person who has phoned me a number of occasions, and I think that she is new to the park, and maybe that's an explanation why she was not totally aware and cognizant of what had been agreed upon by the park collectively and included in their application to the town. So I'm hoping that that those differences or misunderstandings will be resolved, and that they'll go through the AGM successfully on the 25th, and we'll be ready to proceed with the public hearing next month.
Are you aware of any engagement with, by the park itself, with any of the neighbors in that area, in Solana Bay?
No, I'm not, but there was a large public sign as per our requirements placed outside. It's very noticeable. I think there's any neighbors, assuming that they happen to be there, they're not south or whatever, they would be very aware that something is happening. I haven't received any phone calls as yet, but there will be the statutory 2 advertisements in the paper with a map showing where the proposal is, and encouraging all interested citizens to attend.
I guess my concern is, just a minute, Mr. Zackel, that if we go ahead and advertise a public meeting and put it in the paper, and then something happens on the 25th, we then have to take that, rescind all of that, and I'm just wondering whether there would be an easier way and wait until the 25th or until after that meeting before we do a public meeting and put something in the paper.
That certainly is worthy of consideration. I still propose that we proceed with the first two readings, but yes, we could hold back on the public hearing date until we know the outcome of the 25th. That's fair enough.
Mr. Zackel?
That was going to be my question, was setting a public hearing date. So if council waits till after that specific date, then at their next meeting at council, they can establish a public hearing date at that time.
So the option that the recommendation then would be that we give first and second readings to the bylaw amendment and leave the public hearing. Is that a change in motion? It is.
Yeah,
it is. So could I ask?
Friendly amendment.
Okay, that's fine. And are you agreement with that, Councillor Youngberg? So we will just do the first and second readings to the bylaw amendment and leave out the public hearing until such time as.
Okay.
Okay. Is that all right with everybody now? Okay.
Just as option 1 reads.
Yes. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say? All in favor of the motion? Thank you very much. Next is the asset management. Am I correct? Yes. Thank you. And that would be Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before council, our CAO has an asset management plan grant application. An asset management plan, or AMP, is a tactical plan for managing an organization's infrastructure and other assets to deliver an agreed standard of service. Typically, an asset management plan will cover more than a single asset, taking a system approach, especially where a number of assets are codependent and are required to work together to deliver an agreed standard of service. In our situation, an asset management plan includes all of our road, water, sewer, and building infrastructure, along with its component operation system. The asset management plan formally ties together infrastructure assessments, development strategy for replacement or renewal, and organizational financial plans. It is the preferred direction of the provincial and federal infrastructure funding agencies that this plan be developed to enable future funding of infrastructure projects. Grant criteria assessment includes points towards funding applications if this plan is in place and the project is viewed as a priority. Attached, please find background information on the 2015 Asset Management Planning Program grant for $10,000 to assist with development of an asset management plan. In order to make application, the application must include a resolution from council indicating the support for the project and a willingness to provide grant administration. The project was identified in the 2015 business plan, and council approved $10,000 in needed matched funding. The application deadline has passed. However, our application has been made with a council resolution noted to follow. Under community benefits from strategic asset planning, which enables sound facility renewal and financial planning. Organizationally, operational managers will have a framework to enable facility maintenance, replacement, and financial planning. Budget. The total budget is $20,000, with 50-50 funding being split between grant and local funding. Significant dates. The application has been submitted within the March 20th deadline. Communities will be notified of the successful applications in May of 2015. The options before council. Option 1. Council passes a resolution to support an application for a $10,000 grant to the 2015 Asset Management Planning Program and directs the administration to provide grant management support for this grant application. Option 2. Council pass a motion to withdraw the application for a $10,000 grant to the 2015 Asset Management Planning Program. And option 3, council requests additional information. The recommendation before council is administration recommends option number 1. An asset management plan will become a compulsory requirement in future years to assist grant funding. Successful application for this grant will assist application for a $10,000 grant for the 2015 Asset Management Planning Program in reducing costs for the developing of the plan. And again, signed by our CAO, Barry Romanko.
Thank you very much. I think the word compulsory requirement in future years probably says lots about the need to have this going forward. But Councillor Campbell.
I'd like to make a motion that council passes a resolution to support an application for a $10,000 grant to the 2015 Asset Management Planning Program and directs the administration to provide grant management support for this grant application.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor King. Would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just an observation on this, that it is a 50-50 grant, and we will be required to put an equal amount of money into the funding as well. Just so that I can be critical of this, I mean, I get why, and I understand exactly why this is being downloaded onto the municipalities now for future. This grant application, and if we are successful in getting, is really only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the cost of this program. We will add several zeros to those amounts over the period of this program. I just, just because I like, in a public forum to say things once in a while, inputting $10,000 of our money into this program is not the same as the City of Vancouver putting $10,000 into it. I just find it so unfair that we would be subjected to the same investment as a municipality that has budget numbers that are unfathomable in our community. And, you know, it's always important to point these kind of things out when these opportunities come up because of the unfairness of it. And I just wanted to kind of mention that at this point in time because it's appropriate because we're dealing with it right now. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And it does the, I'm surprised at that, and I didn't know that. Does it not depend on the size of the community? No, everybody pays 10,000? Oh, well, we better get the grant then. Yeah.
We should get the full.
The
package.
full grant, yeah, for sure. Thank you for pointing that out. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this? Okay, all in favor of supporting option 1? Against? No, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the ALR exclusion application for the Effa property that was discussed earlier today in a special meeting. Mr. Cunningham. I think we need to go through this again because the last meeting was not on camera. Is that correct? So that's why we've asked you to go through this again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I can go through most of it.
Okay.
I won't go through the impacts. I won't
No.
subject you to that again. This report is a follow-up to one previously presented at Council's regular meeting on March 2nd when they resolved to convene a public information meeting before considering whether to support an ALR exclusion application for Mr. Ron Effa for his property at the north end of Spartan Drive. The purposes of this latest report are twofold. First, to serve as staff's report to a special public information meeting at 1:30 a.m. on April 7th, which occurred. And second, to request Council's consideration of the ALR exclusion application during the immediately following regular meeting. The special public information meeting was advertised in the March 18th edition of the Osoyoos Times. Previous to the first council meeting, Mr. Effa met his obligations under the Agricultural Land Commission Act by posting a notice of his exclusion application at the end of Spartan Drive and in 2 successive ads in the Osoyoos Times on October 22nd and 29th, each inviting any person wishing to express an interest in the application to forward the comments to the town. No letters were received, though John Gates of 8102 92nd Avenue verbally expressed concerns of the director about potential riparian damage and additional traffic generation if development ensued. The director assured Mr. Gates that we apply very rigorous riparian protections in the Osoyoos and that any proposed development other than a single-family home would have to go through a rezoning and public hearing process. The applicant also served notice on Louise and Alcida de Mello, owners of the only ALR neighboring property, which is in the RDUS, and they confirmed in writing that no objection to the lands being taken out of the ALR. The subject property at the head of Spartan Drive is an anomaly because it was never taken out of the ALR despite being located within the town's urban growth boundary, UGB, zoned R1 single-family residential, and serviced with urban sewer and water. As shown on the attached map, the Effa family actually owns 3 adjoining properties in the area. These are Lot A, 0.473 hectares, which is the ALR subject property, as well as 2 lots outside the ALR, which are adjoining. Lot B, 0.2404 hectares by the lake, and Lot 1, 0.097 hectares at the end of Brayburn Drive. All lots were serviced with sewer and water in 2011 at Mr. Effa's expense and are currently for sale by Coldwell Banker. It is likely the entire block, 0.774 hectares, 1.19 acres, will be purchased by one party and developed together. Subject to Lot A being removed from the ALR and zoning approval, it may be possible to accommodate a small number of row houses with attractive views of the lake. The 3 options that were presented to Council were Option 1, Council resolved to support ALC approval of the ALR exclusion application by Mr. Ronald Dallas Effa for Lot A DL 250S at South SDYD Plan KAP 75533. Option number 2, Council resolved not to support the application proceeding to the ELC, or Option 3, council authorizes the application to proceed to the ALC without expressing an opinion, which is not our recommended practice. Thank you.
Thank you. So we did have quite a half-hour meeting on this earlier at 1:30 today, where there were several concerns brought up, several letters in support, and Mr. Effa answered some questions. So I think we probably have all the information that we need on this, and I wondered if council would like to make a recommendation. Councillor Campbell.
I'd like to make a motion that council resolves to support the ALC approval of the ALR exclusion application by Mr. Ronald Dallas Effa for Lot A, DL 2450S-SDYD Plan KAP 75533.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Youngberg. Is there anyone who would like to add any more information to this or anything? Okay, all in favor? Thank you, that's carried. Next on the agenda is the BC Transit Annual Operating Agreement. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. The town of Vesuvius has administered the South Okanagan Transit System through an operating agreement with BC Transit for several years. This agreement must be renewed yearly. At the regular open meeting of March 16, 2015, staff presented a report to council with regard to the funding issues being faced by the town as a result of BC Transit only approving base level funding for 2015-16. The budget amounts for 2016 and 17 are to remain at the 2015-16 operating agreement level. This could mean that if the price of gas is to rise significantly in 2016 or 2017, bus driver wages increase, or other major operating issues occur, there will be insufficient funding to cover these costs, and there may need to be a review and possible service reductions. A letter was sent to Transportation Minister Todd Stone after the March 16th meeting, providing him with council's concerns regarding this and the fact that BC Transit did not approve the additional funding for a Friday service from Vesuvius to Penticton. Now, the mayor, Mr. Zachlin, and I did attend a meeting at the regional district with BC Transit on Thursday of last week, and there was discussion about forming a transit committee, which would be made up of elected officials and town and staff to discuss the transit growth and governance, and including regionalization, which is something that the town of Vesuvius has asked for several years now, to make this a regional service, and that may help with some of the issues that we may face if this base level funding or this flatline level funding remains. So in the meantime, however, the new operating agreement has been received and a council resolution is required to approve it. Staff will be attending a meeting with, and that was the meeting that we just attended. So implications, community, public transit in the South Okanagan, organizational, administration of the agreement, budget, no changes to the budget required. Significant dates, current agreement expires March 31st, and sustainability, alternative to use of personal vehicles, ability for people who do not drive to attend appointments or school in Penticton. Options, that the authorized signatories be authorized to sign the 2015-16 annual operating agreement with BC Transit for a 1-year period. 2, that the authorized signatories be authorized to sign the 2015-16 annual operating agreement with BC Transit for a 1-year period, but that the province be advised that unless further funding is available, the town is no longer interested in administering the system at the end of this agreement. And 3, that council not approve the 2015-16 annual operating agreement with BC Transit. Staff recommend option number 1, and then I think once this transit committee is established, council should look at this again and determine whether you wish to continue in the future.
Thank you. And that was quite a long meeting that we were at last week with several different parts to it, and it got to be a little bit confusing actually. But the fact that we do not have a Friday service was brought up many times, and the fact that we're underfunded was also, and I do believe that the people involved in BC Transit were listening. They heard from several people, but the South Okanagan transit service that we have down here is very well run and very well attended, and I would hate to see that we not continue with it. Yes, it looks like the RDOS would certainly look at coordinating some of this. There's one in Penticton, there's one in Summerland, there's one in Princeton, but they don't all sort of hook up at the right time. There is that possibility that that could happen, although on the day of our meeting, the Summerland mayor and councillors were not able to attend because there was an accident just north of town. So we thought, oh my goodness, would this happen? You know, what happens if you've got a coordinated system where it goes up to Kelowna and there's an accident somewhere? It throws everything off. So those kinds of issues will have to be looked at as well. So thank you, Mr. Zackel and Ms. Van Vienen, for attending that meeting, and it helps to have 3 people listening to the same thing. So is there, Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you. Just wanted to ask a quick question. Was there any discussion about rider stats at all, or is it going up, down, staying the same?
It depends on which system. They reviewed all the systems in the regional district area. Both Princeton and the OSEA systems have high ridership, and both of them experience full buses at several times throughout the year. So they are looking at that, and that's one thing that they hope to address if they go regionalization, because they can increase the fleet and the number of trips that go throughout those communities. So that would be all something that would be discussed in that committee.
So Oliver doesn't have a system, but there is a place where you can pick up there, but sometimes the bus is full, so they can't count on it. So I believe they were saying that it makes perfect sense to book your time and not just assume, because with added walkers and wheelchairs and that type of thing, sometimes there can be less people accommodated. So there was a lot of issues discussed. Would anybody like to make a motion on this? Thank you, Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll make a motion to accept number 1, that the authorized signatures be authorized to sign the 2015-2016 annual operating agreement with BC Transit for a 1-year period.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Youngberg. Anything else? All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Next is the regular council meeting, possible cancellation. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. Section 127 of the Community Charter requires notice of schedule of regular council meetings to be published. This was done in December 2014 for the 2015 year. Any changes to the regular open council meeting schedule, including cancellation of meetings, must be advertised. This year, the second meeting in September is September 21st. It has been brought to our attention that this Monday falls at the beginning of the UBCM convention, to which it is likely most council members will be attending. If the majority of council wishes to attend the convention and there will not be a quorum left in order for the meeting to proceed, council should pass a resolution cancelling the meeting. If this resolution is made, staff will prepare the necessary advertising pursuant to the legislation. And so the options are that council cancel the September 21st, 2015 meeting, or that it remain as scheduled. And that would be really up to whether council is all attending the UBCM and whether there will be a quorum or not.
And I see that the significant date on this, that the decision must be made no later than July the 20th. So is it possible, I certainly am planning to attend, but I'm not sure whether the rest of council has committed to that. Is it possible to delay this decision until all of council makes that decision?
We can until the July 20th meeting, so we have adequate time to give notice. But if
Sure.
council knows now, they can make that decision now. So whatever you prefer.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody who would like to make a motion on this issue, or ask questions, or?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. The motion that the regular open meeting be canceled of September the 21st.
Yes.
Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Now, would anyone like to speak to that? Councillor Rhodes, or Councillor Youngberg?
That's
Would
okay.
you like to, you go first because you made the motion.
Just a suggestion that if in fact, you know, some of us decide not to go and there is a quorum, I think it would be probably very likely there won't be. But if there was, we could possibly have a special meeting in view of the council meeting. Could we not?
I'm not sure whether that's, you can rescind that later.
Oh, you can,
We
yes.
couldn't
if you-
rescind it, but we'd just have a special meeting if there was imperative items that we had to address.
Yes, and then it doesn't have to be on the regularly scheduled date or time. You can have it at a separate date and time, and the mayor or acting mayor can call that meeting.
Right. That was my
And could it be the following week if we wanted to, because everybody would be here then, we assume, or not? No?
Yeah, you can call a special open meeting anytime with giving 24-hour notice, yes.
Okay. So, yes, Councillor Campbell?
Would it make sense at this point, rather than speculate, if people, if councillors already know whether they'll be attending, to ask that question now?
Absolutely. How many people, show of hands, are planning to attend UBCM? Councillor Rhodes, would you like to conduct the meeting on your own?
Well, somebody has to run the town.
Oh, we're glad that you've decided to do that. All right, you still can attend if you would like to. So my suggestion is that we go ahead with this. So we're going to, the motion is that we cancel the regular meeting of September the 21st. All in favor? Thank you, that's carried.
And I would like to thank Councillor Rhodes for bringing that to our attention as well.
Well, that's good. And we know it's well handled in town anyway, if all of us were happened to be out of town for a few days. Okay. Next. This would be ICBC information sharing, and I think that is Ms. Van Vienen as well.
Thank you. In 2007, ICBC made it a requirement to enter into an access to information agreement in order for the town to obtain vehicle licensing and ownership information for bylaw enforcement or municipal ticketing. The town has had an agreement with ICBC for access to information since 2007. A copy of the agreement is attached for council approval and authorization. This agreement sets out who can collect the vehicle ownership information, however, how it must be stored, and retention and destruction requirements. The agreement is for a term of 3 years beginning June 9th, 2015. In section 11.1c, it will note that the bylaw enforcement contractor is being a third party to obtain the access to the information through our office. That is coming. And also, staff has been talking to our IT people with regards to some of the storage, and we may need to make a few modifications to the storage requirements that they've got on here, and I'll be talking to ICBC about that. However, in the meantime, if council can agree either to enter into the information sharing agreement with ICBC or not enter into the information sharing agreement with ICBC. And staff is recommending option 1.
Thank you. And it says here, this information is critical to enforcing our traffic bylaw. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion on this? Councillor Rhodes.
Just have to ask one more question regarding this. I noticed in your implications, the budget portion, that there are none. Does that mean that this is a free service?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing,
It's hard
I
to
know.
believe. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So, Councillor Campbell?
I'll make the motion to accept option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes is seconding it. All in favor? Thank you. And the next thing is general payroll. And so this is from our payroll clerk, general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. And general Sun Bowl Arena cash requirements and net payroll accounts to April the 7th, 2015, representing balances in the following cash funds. The amount of general cash requirements of $276,239.19. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $10,337.84, and net payroll accounts of $129,436.28. So the general accounts and the arena accounts would be adopted by consensus, and the payroll accounts are received for information. Next is the minutes.
Excuse
Pardon me?
Could I just intervene
Yes,
in this moment?
please do.
Yeah,
sorry.
there was a couple of reports that had to be carried forward from our in-camera meeting this morning. I just wondered if this was a timely occasion for them.
I thought we
That
did
would-
already.
We did the motions, and we brought them both forward.
You
Is
did?
that what you're referring to?
Okay, so that was both for the project advancement study for the Gyro Park Pier, that was done?
Yes.
Okay. And for the pre-ordering of materials?
Yes.
Okay,
And
I'm
those were
sorry.
both brought- No. that
I'm
was-
getting a little bit, as you might imagine. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And the next is committee reports, the advisory design panel. And Councillor Youngberg, you were at that meeting. Would you like to speak to it, or? It's
Yes,
in-
thank you, Mayor. I think the meeting went really well, and there's recommendations that we passed on to the owner of A&W. And I think Director Cunningham maybe can comment on how the response was.
Yeah, okay, we did pass on our suggestions, and there were certain changes that were requested to the facade upgrade for the facility here in Osoyoos, and it ended up looking more like the one in Oliver. And those changes were made in the drawings. They were incorporated in a development permit, commercial development permit, and that was signed this morning.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Youngberg was away for the first meeting of that, and I attended, and then she was back in time to attend the second one. So, we're now at the end of that, and I will ask if there is a CAO report, and I believe Mr. Zackel has one for us. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Picardo. So the CAO report, CAO attended gas tax grants and asset management workshop to receive information on future funding and need for asset management plans. Met with the Hotel Association twice to discuss the resort municipality program and the need for assistance to complete the statistical and visitor experience surveys. Under community services, just a reminder that the Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon is scheduled for April 11th, 2015 at the Sonora Center. The pole and power has been installed for the Osprey Nest, and we're now waiting for the camera to get installed. Fortis will be presenting a check for $4,200 on April 14th to offset the majority of the costs. We received 9 proposals for the Occupational Health and Safety RFP. Staff will review the proposals and develop a report for Council's consideration. And we have a full Recreation Commission with 3 members from the town, 3 members from the RDOS, and our elected officials. First meeting will commence on April 27th. Under corporate services, work has begun on the annual report for 2014. Postings for relief clerical staff and summer students are up. Check town website or Osoyoos Times for more information. Staff attended a 1-day risk management session put on by Municipal Insurance Association of BC. We received generous donation of between 100 to 200 gently used duvets from Spirit Ridge to the Emergency Support Services. Some have been stored at the Sonora Center for use in the Recreation or Reception Center. The rest were picked up by the RDOS to store for use in the region for regional emergencies. A big thank you to Spirit Ridge for this wonderful donation. Under finance, the audit is complete, reviewing the draft financial statements, reviewing accounts to February 28th, updating property tax system, utility billing system for billing preparations, and FOI requests. Under planning and development, the Director of Planning and Development Services approved an industrial development permit for Yannick Ventures to erect a large industrial building and complete associated site work at 10801 115th Street to house a mechanical shop and truck repair business, and attended a fire hall design meeting. And that's the end of our CAO's report.
Thank you very much. Could we have a motion to receive the report, please?
So moved.
Councillor King, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor? Thank you. And now to councillors' reports, and Councillor Youngberg, you're first.
Oh. Yikes, how did that happen? Y comes before K.
No, we adjusted
Well,
each time somebody's first. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm slightly ready.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to comment about Easter weekend, I think it was fabulous. As a business person on Main Street, I saw great weather and all sorts of tourist traffic, and the streets were filled with vehicles over our Saturday and Sundays, which is a delight to many of our business owners. And it seemed that it was a great weekend to send off our snowbirds, because many of the snowbirds left this weekend to go home. So I think that they'll all be returning with that sunny weather we had. And I'll be attending a meeting for the Okanagan Regional Library Board on Friday in Kelowna, at which time we'll be discussing some policy and planning procedures that will affect Osoyoos slightly. So I look forward to that. And congratulations go out to the new board for Desert Park. Resigned, and of course there's new leadership there and a really strong board. And I understand they're happily managing all of the horses up at the park and planning some fundraising events, of which I'm helping with one that's going to take place on May the 30th, called Derby Nights, which is our 3rd annual, and where we race the little stick horses and raise a lot of money for the improvement of the grandstand. Also, I would like to, I'm glad that the NW owners are happy with our recommendations from the advisory panel, so they can proceed now with their changes. That's a good thing. And I'd also like to see the town of Osoyoos ask the Southern and government legislation to have their meeting in our area. I think that would be, yeah, Silga, yeah. I would like to see that happen. I think the more awareness we can have in our area, the better it is. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam McCurkoff. I'd just like to mention that I met with Barry Romanko to review Martin Conley will be the new city representative on Destination Osoyoos board. Attended a meeting last week with fellow councillor Campo, and it's a very exciting committee as they're moving forward, working on their AGM and putting all their paperwork together. Also had a great time at the Easter event this past Sunday. We had great weather, great pancakes, and a great chicken in the crowd. It was well received. I'd like to also mention Cactus Jalopy's coming up on January 5th, 6th, and 7th. Or June. Yeah, I'm a little behind, but I'm okay. June 5th, 6th, and 7th. Hopefully everybody will attend that, because that committee actually meets tomorrow, and they're going to make that a bigger and better event. And with that, that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. And yes, it is very dry in here.
Yeah.
Everybody drink water.
Excuse me once again. I was trying to make a point. Just a couple of things I would like to mention. During our council reports at the last meeting, I had made a request for people to give me some input on the internet voting resolution that we're going to carry to Silga at the end of the month. I'm very surprised. Haven't had one person comment on it, not a phone call. So I'm going to go there with the belief that I have 100% support of all the residents in Osoyoos, and I'm going to go there and feel good, and we're going to promote it and get it moved forward. So, secondly, I'd like to send out a big congratulations to JF Lanier in our community. JF is a custom car builder who built a car about a year ago that can only be described as a work of art. It's just such an amazing thing, and he took that car to Detroit and won an award that was equivalent to winning the Best Picture Oscar in the car world. Just an amazing feat. Since that time, he brought the car, or he actually left the car there. He came back here and somehow or another enclosed this in one of those shipping containers and sent that car over to Europe for another contest, almost the exact equivalent of the one that they had in Detroit. And amazingly won the custom car of that, I might have the wording wrong about the award, but it was the Custom Car of the Year award, which once again is just another amazing feat. And, you know, my point is that, you know, we have 4,884 residents in this town, and he is one business person that did something that is so, in the car world, so incredibly amazing that, you know, if you see him walking around in a town, stop him, congratulate him, and thank him for what he did. The promotion that our community receives from this, you know, these two events, these two major wins, it's amazing. And so having said that, congratulations, Jeff, great job. I also wanted to mention, and this came right out of his mouth, stay tuned for a TV show. So I'll just leave that. If you're a car enthusiast, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of our public television channels are just inundated with these car shows, and I'm not going to say anything else, but just stay tuned. So that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduck. And actually, just to add to what Councillor Rhodes was just talking about, I think it's important to note that winning some of the most coveted awards in the world in the car industry does not carry a monetary value of even the smallest fraction of what it costs to build a car like that. So I don't have a lot to, just to talk again about this past weekend in the Easter egg extravaganza, and just a huge thank you and congratulations to all the volunteers that got involved, from getting their heads shaved to chickens locking their keys in the trunk and all sorts. Actually, the chicken literally did have to cross the road after that one because he couldn't drive home. But what an amazing event. The turnout and the amount of kids the amount of kids that showed up at the school for this was just incredible, and the smiles on their faces well, as they were picking up eggs and meeting the Easter bunnies was absolutely incredible. So kudos to everybody that put some time into that and volunteered. It was an incredible event.
Thank you. And I'd like to sort of pick up on that a little bit too. I've been a member of the Festival Society for a long time, so I know how much work goes into putting on Easter extravaganza. And I'd just like to say thank you to all of the people who were involved, and that includes the Rotary for putting on the pancake breakfast. For the Kiwanis for doing the bike and trike judging, the Serious Volunteer Firemen for putting on a wonderful event, and also I'd like to thank this year's chicken. I did talk to last year's chicken, who was slightly concerned because it looked a little leaner this year, and I said yes, that probably is a correct assumption. So thank you to everybody that put on Easter extravaganza. It really takes Public Works and people at the Sonora Center and everybody, and it's for the good of this community. And there were several people that were at the event, many of whom I had taught. And I know Councillor Rhodes will say, didn't you teach everybody? But not all of them. But I did see several of them, and they don't live in town, but they come up for this event. And at 5 to 10, out of the hills come 4,000, I don't know, 400 or 500 kids and their parents to come to the Easter egg hunt. We do hide 3,500 chocolate eggs, and they get picked up just like that. So that was a great event. Thank you to everybody who was involved. I would like to say a huge congratulations to the Osoyoos Times, who has just won 3 major awards. Best editorial, I'm hoping I'm getting this right, Mr. Lacey, best front page, and best community newspaper in their class. And Mr. Lacey gets to go to Toronto to accept this award sometime next month. So congratulations. That's terrific. It is Daffodil Month, which is why I'm wearing a daffodil, and there is the Daffodil Dash. I think it's on the 26th. There's too many of these things on this month, but that's on the 26th, and that is for the Cancer Society. You will see in last week's paper that there was a proclamation about Daffodil Month, and thank you to the, is it not the Kiwanis? It was the Yes, it was the Kiwanis that took it on, that have taken on selling daffodils, and good for them. They did a terrific job. Also, in there was a proclamation for Organ Donor Month and Transplant Month. And we were all standing here. There must have been 10 people who were here with me who had all either donated organs or received organs, and mostly kidneys. I was absolutely amazed. So when you see the picture in the paper from last week, all of those people either received or donated. That's huge, and I think that the percentage in this town of that happening is way above other towns. So I say well done to all of you, and how nice that we were able to have that. Another thing is that clean, drain, dry. Zebra and quagga mussels, as was mentioned earlier, could be very damaging to our lake, and the provincial government, through SILGA, through other agencies, through OBWB, has realized that if we get these on boats into our lake, they take over in a year, and it's just a terrible, terrible mess. They're very tiny. So what they've agreed to put 1.3 million into this over the next 2 years, the provincial government, and you will see many signs up around as you come across the border saying clean, drain, and dry, because these mussels are so small that sometimes they're not visible. So I think education and talking about it and just everybody doing their part is going to help that. I'd also like to say congratulations to the BC Interior Masters 60 Plus, and I got a long email about this, and I'm not sure I understand it all, but I did ask Mr. Katarenchuk to send it to me. 60 Plus, the men, Ron Robinson, this is curling, Ron Robinson, Larry Gableman, John Katarenchuk, and Don Peterson went to Richmond last week, and they won the Interior Masters Curling Association for their several zones, but they also got the best record, the Hobbs Trophy. So congratulations to them. And the 60 plus ladies team won the President's Trophy. That's Kate Pirlet, Monica Andres, Pat Horner, and Verla Anderson. So well done. I think we have some very accomplished athletes in this town, as we've seen for the last couple of months, and they've all done very well. So good for them. And the last thing I wanted to say was that several people have heard about the closing of the home building center across the street, and I know that there's lots of information that has been circulating out there. Just know that it was quite a shock to all of us here that they intend to close down, and to that end, we have been speaking with the owner of the franchise, and there will be a meeting next week with town staff and the regional district and the museum society, because this is a very complicated issue. And there will be, we need to look at all the issues that's surrounding this and see if we cannot make something work. We certainly do not want to lose our building supply store in town. So just know that we are trying to keep on top of it, and we will get back to you very soon. And I know Mr. Lacey has done some research into this as well, and you will see something in the paper this week about it. So please know that we don't want it to happen, and we were surprised as well as everybody else. So we hope we can come up with a reasonable compromise or some way to address this issue. And that being said, that's the end of my report. And thank you for listening to everybody who's listening on Channel 10. And could we have a resolution that the meeting be adjourned at 3:10. Thank you. Councillor Youngberg, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you, folks. Good afternoon.
Are you going to the National Park thing today?
Yes, I am. It's a media presentation.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't quite know what to